Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about level setting. Hey, everybody. Thank you again for including Confidence Certification in your very busy day. When do you listen to the podcast? Obviously, right when it comes out, right? Yeah? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, what time of day are you pressing play on your preferred podcast app? Are you driving? Please listen responsibly. Don't mess around with your phone. Yeah. And definitely don't record videos while you're driving. I'm just going to leave that there. But are you listening in the grocery store? I love putting my earbuds in while I walk around the store, especially when I pick different types of music and I'm people watching and seeing them how they move to the music. Or are you getting ready for work? Don't get toothpaste on your phone now, but seriously, when are you listening, and is the podcast helping you get in the right frame of mind to do whatever you're going to be working on? I think that's why I personally enjoy podcasts, because it could be about a topic that has nothing to do with what I'm currently working on. And then when I'm addressing the topic I just listened to, I can rehear it in my head. I just love listening to podcasts and listening and pretty much learning through listening, which is super exciting. Yeah. So today I want to talk about the ability to level set. Okay. Now, level setting before, during, and after your test journey, how you're studying is really going to be a great way to reconnect with what you're working on. So when I say level set, what do you think of? Are you thinking of your multi-level set in your department that probably has too many instruments in it that the surgeon never uses anyways, right? Or are you thinking about when you're wrapping your bumps? Yeah. Or you're wrapping that awesome triangle. Okay. But seriously, level set is a great tool that we can use ourselves while we're studying and preparing for our tests. So what is level setting? Now, the term level setting is when a group of people come together to determine and agree to the same set of facts so that all the people involved have a clear understanding of the next step. And you're like, wait a minute, Sarah, I thought you were talking about how I was going to use that. Yeah, so the term level setting is inclusive to a group, but a lot of the times we have to have that reality check with ourselves to make sure that we have all the information we need and that we're all working off the same basis of facts during our study sessions or even our test prep journey. There's nothing like going into your first sterile processing class thinking you know everything, only to find out you know nothing about regulatory bodies and you cannot understand what the abbreviation for AMI means or what the FDA does. Okay. So, and a lot of the times you may have never even heard those terms before. So that really rocks that perception of what the tools or the understandings that we had thought we were going in with. So, the level set process ensures that everyone has the same information about the work and working from the same knowledge base. And when we take that level set concept and apply it to ourselves, it's going to make sure that we reconnect with the purpose that we've started studying with, right? The information that we are studying, and also the outcomes that we are desiring or hoping for. And you already know that hope is not a strategy for me. So level set can be a great way to take the intangibles that we work with and make them tangible and realistic so that we can grab them and work towards them and achieve them. Okay, because it's so easy to get lost in the pursuit when we forget why we started, what we're doing, who's involved, how are we moving. It all just gets really crazy because it may just be us out here preparing for the test, whether or not you're in a study group, right? But like we talked about in previous episodes, your environment, your personal testing limitations, money, the thinking of the day before, cram sessions, these all play into that same information that we are working with, right? So a level set is a great reality check and a tool to keep us present. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about different level set techniques that we can apply while we're studying, before we even start studying for the day or the whole journey itself. And of course, after we pass our tests. We'll be right back. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and are discussed in the literature. Today, we'll cover environmental conditions. Every area of the sterile processing department, operating rooms, and the OR sterile core have some type of environmental conditions they have to follow in order to prevent the spread of microbials, as well as minimize the risk and chance of product contamination. The major environmental conditions that appear in our studies include 1. Airflow, the directional pressure associated to the air in the areas. There's negative air pressure, sucking up, positive air pressure, pushing down, and these can be seen when holding a piece of tissue paper near a door leading out of the department or between the assembly side and decontamination. You'll literally see the piece of tissue paper be pulled towards a specific side in the department. Then you have air exchanges. That's the rate in which the air is exchanged in a department area. In many areas, including decontamination and assembly, it's 10 air exchanges per hour. Other areas could be 4. Then there's temperature, the degrees that an area must stay between in order to meet sterility maintenance and or minimize ideal microbial growth conditions. Many areas are between 68 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit because overheating can contaminate sterilized instrument sets and lead to a complete overhaul of the department. And then finally, there's humidity, the amount of moisture permitted in a particular area in order to assure sterility maintenance and or minimize ideal microbial growth conditions. In many areas, it's between 35 and 50%. Moisture is a wrapped or traditional rigid container's worst nightmare, and of course, the SPD techs. This can result in complete reprocessing and overhaul of all the department's instruments. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us after that short break. What did you think of this session's mid-session confidence boost? Again, if there is a definition or a topic you'd like discussed in an episode, don't hesitate to email info@beyondclean.net or even just shoot me a message or a DM on LinkedIn. That's my favorite social media site right now. And say, hey, I'd like to learn more about this. And maybe we could shoot you some resources aside from just this amazing podcast. But don't forget that this podcast is designed to serve you and your needs in order to take your certification test confidently. All right. So before we went on break, we were talking about the concept of level setting. And level setting is the idea that everybody in the group has agreed to the same set of facts and that everybody has a clear understanding of the next steps that they're working towards, and they're all working from the same basis of knowledge. You can see why working in a group, level setting is important, right? So there's nothing quite like working in a group and everybody's working on one thing and you're working on another, only to find out you were all working on different things, okay? Level set is a great physical way to define your starting point, your middle point, and your end results. Yeah. So even incorporating that into a group project or anything that you're working on during the day, like a rapid turnover, that's a really great example of a level set, right? So you have an instrument that was dropped on the floor, one of a kind instrument, and you have to IUSS it, right? There is clear baseline of understanding. Somebody calls downstairs. They say, this is a one-of-a-kind instrument. The doctor needs it. The patient needs it. We're going to IUSS it. So not everybody in the group understands, right? Has that baseline understanding of it's one of a kind. The doctor needs it. The patient needs it. We're going to IUSS it. The manager approves it. So you begin certain sequence of steps, right? Now, if that came down and it was like, hey, we've got 5 of these, but the doctor really only likes this one because it has this certain chip in it. So we're going to IUSS it. That might lead to a different set of results. Yeah. So understanding that level set, just that first conversation really triggers and moves through the next sequence of events, which is an extension of that level set. Okay. So now the instrument comes downstairs. The person in decon receives it because there's a priority tag on it. There's been open communication that it's been coming down. They clean and decontaminate, and then it comes through the washer. And now people on assembly are doing what they need to do to inspect it for cleanliness and quality. The person on sterilizer can move effectively to get it into the IUSS container that they're using and sterilize it and get it upstairs to the doctor. Yeah. All the meanwhile, someone's talking to the OR and keeping them apprised of like what's going on and when to expect it. Technically when to expect it. Okay. Don't give them a certain time, but I digress. So this is a real life example of the power of level setting just in your daily work. Everybody's working from the same base of knowledge. They all know the steps that need to get done because they have prepared for this moment. They have been trained on this moment. So the outcomes are met. So how can we take that energy and apply it to our test taking? All right. This is always my favorite part of the episode when we get into action. I work really hard to make sure you all leave with tangible steps and real physical indicators of success, and more than just tips and tricks, but literal tools you can put in your mental tool belts that will help you study. So from the beginning, what are some level sets indicators that we can create when we start studying? No, let's go a step back even further. We want to pass our certification test. What is that baseline information, that baseline knowledge that we have to have before we even begin to study? Right? And that really pulls in all the factors of the last group of episodes we've been talking about, listing your personal limitations, right? Your personal test limitations, the different things in your environment. What are you nervous about the first day? What's your financial picture like? Do you understand the program? Really just making that list of unknowns really gives you that guide to your next steps. And not just the unknowns about the test itself, but the contents of the curriculum that you're going to study and take your test on. Okay. If you feel like you're a champ, a decon champ, maybe you won't start with the decontamination chapter. Maybe you'll jump around, you'll go to sterile storage, or you'll learn about leadership opportunities, things like that. What do we need to know about our current state snapshot, I like to call it, that is going to be that information level set baseline that we are going to work off of the rest of our journey? And sometimes that pre-level set starts with having a conversation with like our partner or people that will be directly affected by our studying, whether they're directly impacted by hopefully a pay increase, that would be great. Or if maybe they need to step up more in childcare because you're going to have to pull back. There's so many different dynamics that would require your partners or your family to be on board with you during this time, because there's nothing like finding out in the middle of something that you probably should have included more people ahead of time. That's like my biggest issue is I tend to start projects without pulling all the right people in at the right time. Yeah, I've gotten a lot better at that. That was actually one of my resolutions a couple of years ago and one of the tasks I worked towards. So that's that right? That before we start studying. Then we'll talk about in the middle. And because we have that baseline, we've pulled all the right people into the group. We're working from a certain set of knowledge. The level set is going to be very impactful and very profound when we get to different areas that we didn't prepare for. One, because how can you prepare for things that you don't know about? We start to waver in our abilities to study. Everybody loves a good idea and starting something new. for the first week. All right. That's why everybody is makes these great New Year's resolutions. And then halfway through the month, nobody's doing them anyways. Right. It's because we don't make them sustainable enough to stick with. And a level set before you start can be a great way to make your new habits and the things you want to achieve sustainable. And then the level set after you're done studying and hopefully you passed your certification test. Not hopefully, when you pass your certification test. A lot of the times there's no follow-up level set at that point, and you need that one the most, actually. You have to look back to make sure that you actually reached all the goals that you set for yourself. Right? So maybe the only goal you set was to pass your certification test, and that's fine too. But if there's a goal in there that says pass your certification test and use that to become team lead, or pass your certification test and use that to find a new job, well, you're going to have to make your resume. So you've achieved your major goal and your major focus, right? Because we've level set along the way. And because we revisited it after, right? We passed our certification tests, it keeps us accountable to the goals that we may have set that we've forgotten about because we've been so focused on studying. And listen, don't get me wrong. After you pass and complete a big goal, take a break, soak it in, make sure you celebrate. We have an episode about how to celebrate your passing certification and even how to celebrate failures back earlier in the season. So make sure you visit that. But truly, take that time to make sure you complete, because it wasn't just that you wanted to pass your certification test. It was why you wanted to pass your certification test. So do yourself that favor and honor, finishing it. You deserve it. You should get what you want out of your certification test journey. And that's not just frustration and a bigger brain on sterile processing. I mean, those are amazing outcomes. Not the frustration part, but the big brain about sterile processing. That's great. But, use your level set to make sure you're still on track. What should we do if we aren't on track? Make sure that you are still present. Okay, so for your homework, I want you to think about how you will level set yourself if you feel like you're getting off track. Okay. So for example, I failed a bunch of times when I was taking my certification test, and I was starting to feel better about the content I was studying every time I was failing, right? And I was going about the study process a completely different way by the last time, and I passed. This made the pressure of passing easier to navigate, and it gave me a sense of ownership in my ability to determine my own test outcomes, because my level set wasn't just to pass my test, okay? It was to figure out why I wasn't passing my test, what I needed to pass my test, and trying something different than what I was doing the last, what feels like billion times that wasn't working for me, okay? So if you feel like you aren't reaching the goals that you want, or you're losing the ability to be present in your certification test journey, that's your homework. Make a list of your level set. Even if you're well into your study, take that time to reassess that baseline knowledge that you started with and what you're working towards, because you'd be surprised how much we may have left behind that could really accelerate our abilities to achieve our goals more effectively and quickly. I mean, who doesn't like getting a goal right away? Yeah. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap today's episode. As always, it's a pleasure hanging out with you, and truly have a great day. Bye. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sarah B. Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.